isa sa mga friends ni Nick.
The film begins in one corner of Manila, where two best friends, Dahlia and Julia, have been friends since childhood until now. That night, Dahlia was seen dressing up because her boyfriend, named Nick, planned to come to her boarding house. She asked Julia for help to help her sneak Nick into their boarding house. Because Dahlia kept persuading her, Julia had no choice but to help him so that Nick could get in there. Thanks to Julia's help, Nick was successfully brought into the boarding house without anyone else knowing. Julia was also asked to stay on guard outside when they were having a mechanic competition. Julia, who kept hearing the sound of horror from inside the boarding house, finally got carried away and ended up playing alone. Instead of daydreaming with Nick, Julia daydreamed about being with Dahlia and making out with her. The next day, Julia was seen arriving late to school, while Dahlia had arrived first and was busy chatting with her friends about her boyfriend. Not long after, class started, and a handsome teacher named Lopez came. Before starting the lesson, Teacher Lopez emphasized that students should not wear excessive makeup, according to campus rules. He also asked students who wore excessive makeup to immediately clean their faces within 5 minutes. Dahlia and her friends then had no choice but to clean their faces in the toilet. They were very upset with the rules made at the school. But on the other hand, Dahlia said that she liked Teacher Lopez. He was strict and became the foremost teacher enforcing the rules. Dahlia even told her friends that she really wanted to be able to make out with Mr. Lopez. Not long after, the principal introduced a new student named Nessa. Nessa is the daughter of a Philippine diplomat who worked in Europe, so she spent most of her life abroad. After Nessa got acquainted, Mr. Lopez continued the lesson. But a few minutes later, Nessa raised her hand and asked permission to enter the health room. At the same time, Dahlia offered to take Nessa. After school, Julia approached Dahlia to ask about Nessa's condition. However, Dahlia revealed that Nessa was only pretending to be sick. In fact, they spent time in the canteen. Dahlia also said that Nessa was known as a free person and often did live broadcasts on the Bairu application. Nessa had even been involved in a romance with a teacher at her old school. That's why she was transferred to this school. The next day, Julia looked for her best friend because she hadn't met her since morning. Julia looked here and there but didn't find Dahlia, until finally she found Dahlia with Nessa in a practice room. There, Nessa apparently started teaching Dahlia to vape, and Nessa even dared to ask Julia about her seal. Julia said in annoyance that she had once pushed rank to glory with someone older. Hearing Julia's confession, Dahlia was shocked and couldn't believe that her calm best friend had ever been like that. Nessa then said that she really wanted to be intimate with Mr. Lopez. Dahlia, who heard that, immediately admitted that they had the same desire. Long story short, the lesson was over, but Teacher Lopez asked Nessa to stay because there was something she wanted to say, while the other students were allowed to go home. Meanwhile, Dahlia and Julia did not go home immediately. They talked about Nessa and Mr. Lopez. Dahlia was sure that they were making out. A few moments later Nessa came. Dahlia immediately asked what happened, but Nessa answered that it was her personal secret with Mr. Lopez. After that, Nessa invited Dahlia to go home together, but Julia did not go with them because Nessa's car did not fit. Julia, who was alone, was then approached by her friend. She also asked about Nessa and Mr. Lopez. She admitted that she saw a tightly closed room, while Mr. Lopez and Nessa were there. Hearing that, Julia even made a gossip that Nessa and Mr. Lopez were making out. Julia finally went home. However, the gossip she made quickly spread to all the students at the school, until finally the gossip was heard by other fellow teachers. Even though Julia's initial intention was just a joke. Until finally Julia received a call from Dahlia, who told her that Teacher Lopez had been sanctioned for the rumors circulating. Julia also said that she was just joking with her friend and had no intention of spreading the news. But what can you do? It's all already happened. Haunted by guilt, Julia finally decided to make a video confession that she was the one who spread the fake news. Due to her actions, Julia received punishment from the school. She was expelled because of the slander she had spread. Her friends began to distance themselves from her, which made her heart hurt even more. Apparently her own best friend did not believe her and also distanced herself from her. Now Julia herself regrets what had happened. But not long after Mr. Lopez came to her, Julia apologized to Mr. Lopez. Apparently Mr. Lopez was not angry with her. He even thanked her for daring to make a confession video and admit her mistakes. Mr. Lopez also gave Julia encouragement to live a new life at her new school later. Hearing that, Julia smiled again and was ready to live her new life. And the film ended.